joining dialogue lately. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I would like to start by thanking this TV to get me to speak to the viewers inside Sudan and abroad.
Thank you, Ustad Al-طيب. As far as we are speaking about the national dialogue which have been started with Sudanese pure initiatives in the 10th October inside Sudan, in spite of challenges and pressures from inside and outside, how can you read the Sudanese political will to hold this conference and national dialogue inside Khartoum in spite of the environment and the circumstances which I have mentioned?
It's been since the independence of the country. The country's been suffering, and we're always having war, and the war has been going on and on for a long time. Millions of people were killed in Darfur, in Kordofan, and in the south of Sudan. And I strongly believe the only way to solve the problem of the country is to sit down and talk about it. So the dialogue is the peaceful way to solve problems. And I believe everyone should think about that, because people have been fighting, killing one another. The bloodshed is all over the place. Villages, livestock is being destroyed, and so the only way out of all this chaos is to sit down and to discuss and talk about the problem that becomes like a chronic problem. But the only treatment, the only way to get out of this is to sit down and to manage to be in the dialogue to solve the problems.
Yeah, the Sudanese will of holding this dialogue.
Of course, Sudanese will, because if we really care of the country, we have to accept one another. We have to understand one another. If we look at other countries around us in the regions, look at other countries in our continent here, and we have a very practical example of Burundi. They were fighting, and now it's been talking that Burundi is one of the great countries, and we have been behind. We need to be always at front. We need to move forward with our country. Sudan is one of the richest countries in the world, not in the continent, not in the Middle East, but in the world. I've been in Canada for years now. When I look at the resources that Canada has, United States has, I believe the resources that we have in Sudan is a lot. Whether it is on the surface on the land or inside the land, we have got a lot of fresh water, fertile lands, forestry, livestock, and most importantly, we have people.
This represents a very major factor for the attack coming from outside towards Sudan.
That's true to some extent, but if we become united, then we'll be very strong, and then we can protect our resources, we can protect our country.
Ustaz Al-طيب, you are one of the intellectuals abroad in Canada for a long time, and you have joined this group, or maybe you have one of those people who establish the group of social peacemaking. What do you think, what is the means and ways for your group as far as you are participating now in the national dialogue?
We've been talking, I've been writing personally for years now about the problems that are in Sudan here, whether it's caused by the rebels on one hand or by the government on the other hand. We've been talking, trying to give advice, trying to give guidelines in order to sit down, solve the problem, because our people in Sudan been suffering from the war. When it's been called upon this dialogue, national dialogue in Sudan, we talked about it, and we think, well, let's try to see if this is could be a way out in order to establish and try to move on with our country. We talked about it, and then we arrived here in Sudan last week. When we came here, we've been welcomed by the government, we've been welcomed by the people who organized the dialogue, and we visited some of the committees that are working on certain aspects, certain topics. We talked to them, and I believe we could play, and we are playing very important role in order to reflect on our experience, because we come from Canada, and Canada has got a great system from the countries called multiculturalism. Multiculturalism means that people are from different religions, different culture, different origin, different ethnicity. They all live together in one country. And just this is what we call like a salad bowl. A salad bowl is that you have different ingredients in that bowl, and you don't have to mix them, but each one is representing itself, but they are making kind of integration. That's on one hand. That's is different than the melting pot. Melting pot is different than that one.
To speak about the diversity, the latest statistic which have been done by the University of Khartoum shows that in Sudan we have about 502 tribes and 136 languages. This is a very good diversity for a very rich country. How can also, as we speak about, to get a benefit and use from this diversity?
I can talk a bit about the example we have in Canada. In Canada there are two official languages, French and English. But beside that, there are other languages. And if you look at the Canadian Charters of Rights, you would see people have the right to use their own languages, to run their own schools, to preserve their own heritage and cultures. Therefore, we could apply the same thing here in Sudan. If we assume that we're going to have more than one official language, Arabic would be one official language, and then could be English or any other one based on what people would want to have the second language. Other languages around the country should be preserved because it is heritage of the people, and they can be used in instructions in their schools if they want to. They should be given that right. Also, people would come from different parts of the country into the capital. They should be provided by interpretation services. You know, there should be a translator standing by, and that person should not be forced to speak Arabic or English. But you could provide translation services.
This is a Canadian experience. Maybe if we want to make a comparison, maybe we find some differences and some point of view which have find here and there. But I want you to, as far as you are inside the Friendship Hall, you have paid visit to many committee which is working in different topics inside the Friendship Hall. I want you to read and to evaluate the processing of the national dialogue, the level of participation, and also the level of freedom of expressing yourself inside the Friendship Hall.
I would like to mention the truth that been to at least 4 committees First of all, we were highly welcome inside these committees,
Yeah.
and we were given a chance to speak and to reflect on what they were talking about. Nevertheless, I attended in one of the committees. There was one of the National Congress, Sudanese National Congress member. He was talking inside there because it was suggested that a bill should be passed about the International Criminal Court.
Yeah, yeah.
And he stood up and talked about against that and said this is not one of our priorities. One of the members of the committee stood up and said to him, no, that's one of our priorities, and we should not go for the criminal court. We can form a national Sudanese court here to get those who are accused.
Yeah.
And we know that those who are accused are innocent unless it's been proven.
Yeah.
So that person was against it. So all the committee decided to ask him to leave the hall.
Yeah.
I strongly believe this kind of democracy, you don't find it in so many places around the world. So
This
the
is a
guy
message
was
for
out.
those who-
Yes, yeah. That's one example.
Yeah.
Another example, there was one of the people, one of the members stood up and talked in a very harsh way towards the government, and he said the government should do 1, 2, 3, 4. If the government does not do that, he would revolt and he can go back and become a rebel and fight against the government.
Yeah.
He have said that inside the Friendship Hall, and I was there as a witness.
Yeah.
If I can get another third example, one of our members came into one of the committee. One of the members stood up and said, "We don't want you here. You're not invited. You have to leave right away." We said, "Okay,
Yeah.
you can hear what you said. That's your opinion, but we have the right to express ourselves.
It is.
Here, we should speak about the right of expression. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
you
yeah.
say whatever you wanted to say. I say my point of view, and then we can find an agreement or disagreement, and that should be judged by the majority of those who are in the committees."
Yeah. These three examples which you have mentioned, Ustaz Al-Tayyib, from inside the Friendship Hall, shows that there is a sort of freedom of expression. Everyone can say his point of view and can find the arguments to support and to strengthen his arguments. What do you think about the level of participation? We have more than 100 political parties. We have also more than 32 rebel movement. And we have a national personalities, a group like your group, which come and join dialogue. The level of participation.
I think there is a great level of participation from across the country. You mentioned the number of the rebel groups and the number of the political parties who are participated there. I do respect that, but I strongly believe we should not look at the quantity. We should look at the quality of those who participate. I think there is some quality there, but on the other hand, there is still some armed groups who are still fighting there. They don't want to come in to participate. There are a lot of leaders of the opposition parties around the world. They didn't want to come in to participate.
Yeah.
I believe if Mr. Sadiq al-Mahdi, the Ummah party leader, Yasser Arman, and others could come to participate inside the country, this dialogue, national dialogue, could be better, and we could come to an agreement to solve the problem of our country, and we could move on with this. Most importantly, and I've said that and I'll say it here frankly and openly, I personally do not care who's going to rule the country and how the country is going to be ruled. I care for those who are in the all parts of Sudan should be provided with the basic needs.
Yeah.
Basic needs, I mean health, you know, health, fresh water, education.
Services.
Now, for example, if I can compare a bit, in Canada, going to from grade 1 to grade 12 is compulsory.
Yeah.
You know, every child.
Dear viewers, and welcome my guest in the studio, Ustaz الطيب رحمه Muhammad قريمان.
Thank you.
One of the group of social peace making joint dialogue lately from Canada. Ustaz الطيب, you have mentioned the rebel movement and the political parties who refused to come and join dialogue. As example, Imam al-Sadiq al-Mahdi Ummah Party and also Ghazi Salah ad-Din Reform movement and some rebel movement. Although the President of the Republic has declared the general amnesty guarantees and the commitment of the implementation of the outcome of this dialogue and the ceasefire, how can you justify their refusal till now?
I strongly believe this national dialogue is a golden opportunity for all Sudanese people to come together to participate and try to solve the problem and the chronic problem of the country. President of the country, President Omar Ahmed al-Bashir, committed that he would make sure for the rebels, for the opposition leaders, those who are abroad, those who are inside the country, they can come to the capital, Khartoum, participate there, and he would guarantee that nobody is going to be hurt, nobody is going to be arrested, nobody is going to be detained. And evidently, I'm here talking out of Khartoum. I've been writing about a lot of my writing is there. Google is full of what I've written, and I've been considered as one of the opponents, and now I'm talking from within Khartoum. I would urge the opposition leaders, all of them, to come inside the country, and if they are not sure of this, they should try it.
Yeah.
And my question, for how long are we going to be outside the country? For how long are we going to be just seeing people being killed, people killed because of war, because of fighting one another, because of a lot of things, because of disease, because of ignorance, because of many things. We need to come together to participate, to be united, to build this country. I strongly believe we have to accept one another, regardless how we look like, regardless our belief, regardless our religion, regardless our tribe. We have to forget all about the tribalism, about ethnicity, about all this. It doesn't make anything, but we need to come together to build our country. We've been living abroad, we've been working abroad. Sudanese people, among Sudanese people, you would find a lot of engineers, professors, teachers. They're not in the country. They've been outside the country for years. How long are they going to be outside the country? We need them to come in here. They are needed inside the country. And again, I would emphasize and stress that the president of the country, Omar al-Bashir, guaranteed that those who can come inside and participate, he would guarantee their safety and security.
And then we have an example. Abu al-Qasim Imam is one of
yes, one of the practical example. Those who come in my group, and Abu al-Qasim Imam is a known rebel leader. He has got army somewhere, and he's been fighting the country for years. He came inside the country, and he decided to leave.
Yeah.
But I would urge Abu al-Qasim Imam to come back to participate in the national dialogue. I would urge other leaders, whether they are civil oppositions, armed oppositions, to come back to participate from within the country. Last year, when they started talking about this, everybody was willing. They attended the first conference that was held in Friendship Hall. Sadiq al-Mahdi, Sayyid Sadiq al-Mahdi, and other opposition leaders were there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now, what's the difference? I think that they should come in. They are not going to be hurt. If anything happened to them, we are there. We're going to fight. We're going to talk about it, and nothing. I'm sure nothing is going to happen to them.
This will be another appeal and another call for those who do not join dialogue till now to come and join dialogue, as far as the atmosphere is adequate for them to express themselves and to say what they think. And I think also we do not in need of preconditions before dialogue. If you want to participate in dialogue, you have to come with no any condition.
I believe we don't have to have conditions before we come in to join the national dialogue. They can come in and talk about their own people's problems.
Yeah.
Who's going to solve it?
Yeah.
If, as I mentioned earlier, the best of the best are outside the country, working or employed or self-employed, whatever. They need to come inside their country and try to participate and be part of the decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of, or maybe more than one, points which characterize this national dialogue, as we have mentioned before, it is the Sudanese political will, and also this dialogue has been the first since the independence of Sudan, in which a very wide area and diversity of political and other participate. But there is also the social dialogue. In this dialogue, we have what do we call the national personalities, and we have a dialogue which related directly to the society. As we know, more than 80% of the total population of Sudan, they are not committed to a political parties. They are other category of the society, staff member at the university, the traditional leaders, Sufist, leader in the social community. How can you qualify and classify this very wide participation of the social personalities to go side by side with the political dialogue?
I strongly believe the leaders, whether they're tribal leaders, social leaders, or political leaders, they're all part of one main picture. And in order to complete and to make a clear, completed picture, all these people should come together and try to draw a nice future for the country. I understand, and all people understand their dominant group, whether in Sudan or in any other country. But we have to come to make a compromise to get everybody to participate and to play a role in this country and try to move it on. I myself am not interested, for example, in holding any position in this country. but I mostly care, I care for those who are in Sudan, those who do not get the basic needs, as I mentioned earlier, health, education, and fresh water, and so on and on. I believe the local tribal leaders can play very vital role to get all the politicians to come together for the best of the country. And I believe, I strongly believe that they're not going to lose anything, those who are outside and those who refuse to come into the country. I'm going to get a little bit of scenario here. If, for example, those who are abroad and refuse to come inside the country, and I suggested that if they all make an appointment to come into Khartoum International Airport at the same time and get everybody there, is the present government going to kill all of them?
Definitely
If
not.
that happens, let them sacrifice for the country. But for sure that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen for sure. I would encourage, and people, the leaders should be very courageous to come inside the Sudan and to be part of the going on national dialogue and the friendship hall.
The processing of the dialogue now is going further, and as the President of the Republic declared in the opening session that this national dialogue will be for 3 months, and as we now in the end of December, that means we have about 20 days till 15 or 10th of January. Do you think that this dialogue, if it will be prolonged for another period?
I think that point is being talked about, and my understanding that is not extendable. They're not going to extend the time, but there is another way for people to participate. Because if you look at the meaning, linguistically, of the meaning of the dialogue, is a conversation between people, whether verbally or written. Those who do not want to come here, or they're not willing to come into the country, they can't participate by sending their point of views, their papers, and to participate. Most importantly, and I will say that frankly, I trust Omar al-Bashir that he's going to be committed to the outcome of the dialogue in Khartoum. And we should keep it that way. We should say that we trust him. He's going to be committed to the outcome of the dialogue.
To speak a little about the influence of the international community towards the rebel movement from side, and towards also some political parties which do not join till now the dialogue. This will be also linked with the internal conflict of the Sudan Revolutionary Front, SRF. Lately, the meeting in Paris, which have been finished without publishing a final communique, and also the refusal of Malik Agar to the communique which have been signed by Jibril Ibrahim. The internal conflict on this SRF, in addition to the international influence towards this rebel, and their effects on their participation in the national dialogue.
I believe all the movement are in the opposition should be united if they are serious in what they believe in, because there is no time, there is no space for any conflict, any disagreement among leaders. They should come together, have one solid decision, and that is to come inside the country, put the gun down, because the bullet would kill somebody. I don't want that to happen, regardless who's the killer and who's going to be killed. In the end, the victim is from this country.
Yeah.
Brother Malik Agar, Yasir Arman, Sadiq al-Mahdi, whoever is out there in the opposition party should understand very well that we have to end the war.
Yeah.
We have to stop it, and we stop it right now. Also, I would call and urge the government to try their best to come to an agreement with the rebels in order to solve the problem of this country. We suffered a lot. We need to stop that. We don't want any bloodshed in the country.
Yeah.
Any disagreement, any conflict among those who are in the opposition is not going to heal, is not going to help out those who are those who have been victimized inside Kurdistan, inside the White Nile, Darfur, Eastern Province, inside الشروق, inside the greater capital Khartoum. People are still suffering. We need to stop that. We need to develop our country. We need to move forward, and we need to be united. We have to ignore all what could make us weak. We need to be stronger. The united, the stronger.
Then that means, as you think, there is no a good justification for refusal to come before, after all these guarantees given to them.
I strongly believe, yes,
Yeah.
there is no justification though for those who refuse to come to participate in the national dialogue. They can come, and I would urge them to come in the remainder time of this national dialogue, to come in and to be part of the decision. And the logical question: what's going to happen if you come here? Are they going to kill you?
Nothing.
Yeah,
Definitely.
That's the maximum your enemy could hurt you, to kill you, right?
Yeah, yes.
Come in here
Yes.
and see what happens. Okay, have the international community as a witness. Have the United Nations, the regional, national, and local NGOs as a witness, and then come in here, and nothing will happen.
Yes. One of their argument, those who refuse to join dialogue, at the beginning of this dialogue, they said that this conference have been organized by the government. Then the government put the topics and organized and even oriented the process of the dialogue. But now, as you come from outside and you are visiting the Friendship Hall, and you see by your eyes and hear and listen what is going on, do you think this argument which they mentioned before, refuted completely by the processing and the real in the dialogue?
When I look at the whole picture and what is happening and going on in the Friendship Hall, it's true that the conference is being organized by the government. The question is, what is wrong with that?
Yeah.
It should be organized by the government. Do we need the African unity to come here to organize that? Do we need the United Nations to solve our problems? If you do not solve your own problems, nobody else from outside will come to solve your problem.
Yeah.
If they come, they would have their own hidden agenda.
Yeah.
They would have their own interest into the country. They're not going to do it for free. And we have countries around us. I'm going to point to the South Sudan. They're fighting.
Yeah.
Unless Riek Machar and Salva Kiir sit down and agree to solve the problem of their people, nobody's going to help them out.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Look at our neighbors, Chad and Ethiopia, for example. Now they are way better than Sudan in terms of social stability, in terms of economy, in terms of security, in terms of building roads to link the countries, many things.
Yeah.
You know, they're way above and ahead of us.
Yeah.
We need to work hard to be to be stronger. We need to come together. I've been repeating the same thing because I want my message to get through to those who refuse to come inside the country to be part of the national dialogue.
Yeah, this is point is very important because our experience in Sudan, if we take, for example, the negotiations and the talks between the government and SPLM North Sector, headed by Yasser Arman in Addis Ababa, it has been failed for the 10th round of talks.
First of all, when it comes to your own country, you do not need to argue.
Yeah.
Argument will take us to nowhere. We need to think wisely. We need to consider the interest of those who are in Sudan, those who are living
victims
in poverty,
of the war,
those who've been victimized by us. We need to think about them. Okay. Therefore, if you do not get it all, get some of it.
Yeah.
If Yasser and the government or whoever in the opposition party, if they do not get all what they wanted, they can get part of it. They can come in here and participate.
Yeah.
Participate in ruling the country, participate in developing the country, participate to provide the basic needs for our people.
Ustaz Al-Taib, we have many topics to mention, but the time available for today has finished. Thank you a lot for giving us an analysis for many topics. And I think we have to have an interval and come back again.
Okay.